So, you want more, do ya? A full hour and a half video wasn't enough for you. Well, I should have known, really. I should have expected that. Of course you'd want to know how this massive video was made. All the blood, sweat, and tears that went into it. Oh, you don't? That actually sounds like a lot to deal with, and you don't necessarily want to listen to the ramblings of an insane man for the next 20 minutes, hour, or 2 hours, who knows? Well, that's fine, you can feel free to leave. Just know that I put in tons and tons of effort into this video that you will never know about. But please, leave. Please, please. No, but seriously, today we're going to be, taking a look at how The Twisted Ones was made, and all the fun things that went into doing so. It's going to be similar to what I did for the Silver Eyes. I did the exact same thing. I figure it'll become a sort of tradition for the Fourth Closet as well, when that inevitably is done. This I'm hoping is more interesting than the Silver Eyes one. That was basically me doing a voiceover over my screen, just showing how I edited the thing. Today I have a lot more to talk to you about, more of a behind-the-scenes look at this project, and I think it should be pretty cool. I think it should be interesting if you at all care, which I hope you do, but in all seriousness, it is going to be more chill. It's going to be pretty laid back. I'm going to be doing pretty minimal editing for this, because I just edited an hour and a half. I feel like I'm going to allow myself to slack on this particular upload, but all the important stuff's going to be here. All the interesting things I want to talk about, hopefully interesting. And we're going to start. I have a whole list of things I want to talk about here. I'm supposed to remind you that we're also doing a watch party soon. It's going to be sort of a watch party, also more, I guess, like a director's commentary or whatever the word is. I think that's it. It's escaping me. But we're going to have some of the cast members. As of when I'm recording this, it's not entirely set in stone who's going to be there. Won't be everyone. That would be like over a dozen people. We can't do that. It just wouldn't work for everybody. But we're going to try and get as many people as possible to be able to make it, myself included. And it's going to be us sort of hanging out while watching The Twisted Ones dub in full, all hour and a half of it. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be way more interesting than this, I think, because it's going to have everybody. So tune in for that. It's going to be probably a few days after the dub comes out, and also a few days after the dub comes out, we're going to have the full soundtrack uploaded, which is going to be cool, so you'll be able to check that out. It's on by The Wild Guess. Fantastic soundtrack. I really love it. I think it's so cool that it was, something that was able to be done for this little project of mine. One other thing I want to mention before we really get into this is, am I going to do Fazbear Frights? For those who don't know, Fazbear Frights has also started to see a graphic novel adaptation recently, and what that means is there's a potential for more dubs. I do not want to dub Fazbear Frights, and that is because, let me actually pull it up here. I've made the executive decision that I don't like the art, like, at all. I'll be perfectly honest, I wasn't a huge fan with the Silver Eyes art as well. I think a lot of it looked kind of unpolished. But for these books, they got better and better over time. The Twisted Ones was really good. Fourth Closet, I think, is even better. But for Fazbear Frights, it looks like each volume, like this I think is from volume 2. It looks bad. It looks like a WikiHow illustration. And so I don't think I want to support that if Scholastic is going to continue putting real crunch on their artists. So unless it gets way better, like here you can see To Be Beautiful, it looks better. It has its issues too, though. It doesn't look, it looks a bit off still. So I'm not gonna do that. Here's another example. Here's another example. So I won't be doing Fazbear Frights. I've talked to someone already who's interested in sort of doing that instead. A sort of passing of the torch, I suppose, who wants to dub the Fazbear Frights graphic novels. We'll see if that happens. I encourage anyone else who also would like to dub these books to please do so. I think it would be super cool if my dubs caused others to also want to dub these books. I'm just not particularly interested in doing so. There's also traced art. It's not something I'm particularly interested in doing myself. But I wanted to mention that. Also, let's talk really quickly about the reception to this whole thing. Really quickly, because we gotta actually get into the behind-the-scenes stuff here. This project has done way better than I ever anticipated it would. Before I was doing this stuff, I was doing a lot of, like, more, I guess miscellaneous videos. A lot of, like, discussion things, theory things, and those were doing okay. But this series just did way better than I ever anticipated. Chapter 1 of The Silver Eyes got like 20,000 views. That's really good for me. 200,000 for the full movie. That's amazing. One, just saying thank you for that. It's been crazy. It's been way more than I ever expected. And naturally, that leads into the question of what am I going to do after these dubs are complete? A question which I will answer, but one which I will only answer at the end of this video. So you will have to wait and see. There's one more dub coming out. I want to make that very clear. This is The Fourth Closet, the conclusion to The Twisted Ones, where we finally find out what happened to Charlie and who this imposter is. Saying that because I assume you've seen the full movie if you're watching this behind the scenes thing. So I'll do that. After that, I have some interesting things planned, which I hope you'll stick around for, even if it's maybe not what you originally came to the channel for. It's gonna be along the same lines. I think you'll like it. So let's actually talk about what it took to make this video. It was a lot, I'll tell you that much. So I'm gonna go, like last time, over just briefly over like the full timeline of the video. You can see here, this is my project of everything. This is the full movie here. You might notice it looks actually fairly simple. Doesn't look like much editing is actually here, and that's because each of these little clips here is a full chapter. Except here, I did some tweaking here. But each of these is a full chapter. Each of these also had their own separate, like, timeline such. Actually, let me show you what each chapter of this looks like. So, here is one chapter of The Twisted Ones. Let's get a nice close look here. Each of these things is either a video clip or an audio clip. So you'll see here, at any given time, we might have like 7 different sounds playing. Looks like 8 total. You can see here, 8 different audio clips that could be playing at any time. 6 different video clips. You might not think it. Most of the time, it is just like one panel on screen, but occasionally we'll have like 3 at one time. You can see here, and then like an extra adjustments on top of that. And then, like, maybe a shake on top of that, a screen shake to sort of, add that sort of effect. So it becomes pretty complicated for just, like, a comic. I was never expecting that when I started this project, and it's gotten more complicated over time. If you look at the Silver Eyes, I think it's fairly obvious that it took less work to make that, or I knew less and I did less for it. I think I did more movement back then between panels and stuff and like transitions, but other stuff has been introduced later on here. It's been more complicated than you maybe would have expected. Of course, the dub starts with this really interesting sort of TV sequence. I think it's really interesting. Flashing through images of the first movie, which I think is, I don't know, I thought it was neat. Sort of a callback to the first movie. And then it starts transitioning into stuff from this one. We see Springtrap here, who doesn't show up until like half an hour into this movie, I think. So, and in the background, all the while, we hear Dave, William, being springlocked in the background, hinting at what's going to happen with his character. We got the logo. I still love this logo. It's kind of low quality, actually. If you zoom in, you can see it's a little more blurry than the rest. I made it when I made videos that were low quality, but whatever. That's not important. We've got this dramatic little intro sequence. The logo by Circus Productions. Oh, here's an interesting thing. Chapter 1, only in the full movie version, by the way. I added a little something that I didn't even tell the cast about. But there was a time where one particular person involved with the production of The Twisted Ones recorded a voice clip of themselves saying that they would totally smash Markiplier. And at this particular part of the full movie, you can hear one of Charlie's classmates saying that in the background. So I don't think anyone's noticed it. It's pretty subtle, it's pretty quiet, but it is there. So in the background during this movie, you can hear someone say, "I would totally smash Markiplier." Fun fact. This was a pain. I had to take like 20 different audio clips from the Silver Eyes, overlay them, add like reverb and stuff, and I think it creates this super cool like sort of haunting effect where you can sort of hear Charlie's memories. But it was a pain to do, man.
Here. You remember him?
I guess.
How could they ever remember?
I like it though. Again, similar thing here with William's death in quotes, of course. Here, during the scene where Charlie and John are watching a movie, I was thinking, okay, now I have to not just create audio for the scene, I have to create audio for this whole movie they're watching. And I sort of wanted it to have like a campy sort of old school feel, and I realized, oh, this is perfect actually, this will be super easy. I'll just use the soundtrack from The Immortal and the Restless, which, if you'll remember, was also, I guess not really a movie, it seemed, a TV show, a soap opera. But it had the sound I was going for, the music. And it had that sort of campy feel, and so I added that. Added a bunch of obnoxious gunshot sound effects, screaming sound effects, zombie sound effects, called it a day. I guess I know how to make a zombie movie now if I ever want to. It's that easy. Now, it should be made very clear, I don't have the most powerful computer, and so even scenes like this sort of dream sequence, where you see, you have the main panel, you have distortion over it, you can see it's like a 3D effect, you can see at the edges it's like curving in, and then you have a second one, you can see a faint outline of the same thing morphing and twisting. All the audio in the background. This was a pain. This almost probably blew up my computer. I need to upgrade and fast because that should not have happened. This is also where the voice of Sammy is introduced, who, fun fact, is voiced by my brother. He shall go unnamed, but I thought that was something worth mentioning. I think he did a pretty good job. It sort of transitions from the robot voices into his voice, which I think is, I don't know, I thought it was pretty cool.
That's not supposed to happen. They shouldn't be able to modulate their voices. Where?
His scream does sound a bit like Mario, though. Now, when we were doing the soundtrack for this, which I'll talk about later a bit more about the original soundtrack, but even when I was including stuff from the FNAF soundtrack, I wanted to sort of have songs that matched what was going on in the actual movie. And so in the Silver Eyes, when they first enter the pizzeria, I played a song from Ultimate Custom Night. I believe it was Hibernating Evil. I mix up the names of those all the time, the ones from Ultimate Custom Night, but I'm pretty sure it was Hibernating Evil. Or was it? No, I think it was actually Where Dreams Die. But anyway, it's this haunting track. It's pretty cool. It makes me think of haunted ancient memories. And I figured when they return to it eventually in the Twisted Ones and it's all broken down, I should play that same track, but it's going to be distorted. It's going to have reverb. It's going to be sort of more echoey and ancient sounding. And I did. And I think it is, whether anyone realizes it or not, I think it makes it more haunting, but it also connects it to the Silver Eyes and the same thing that we heard there, just different, you know.
So much for Freddy's.
It's also just a really good song. But there's one other song that I also want to mention that also sort of hints at what's going on. It was a intentional choice on my part. When Springtrap first appears here, the song we hear is the main menu theme of FNAF 3, Springtrap's first ever appearance. I think it fits really well, and I like it quite a bit, so I had to, you know?
Dave?
Ew.
Oh, another fun fact. Throughout this entire scene, you can hear the sound of a man breathing. Just thought I'd mention that. I may be bragging too much. I may be making this sound more cool than it is, but there are some details I added that I'm very proud of, and I'm going to allow myself to talk about them and be proud of them. And one of those is that through the entire scene here, where we think that Dave is dead, where we think he's passed on, this is just some rotting corpse here, he is breathing, and if you listen closely, you can hear it. Let me see if I can hear it now. It's pretty quiet, but let me see if I can hear it.
I think Dave faked his own death.
What if it's not him?
It's him. The Springlarks might not have killed him right
Yeah.
away.
When they're not talking, you can hear it faintly in your right ear. And I believe when the chapter fades out, you can still hear it as well. Let me listen. Oh yeah, it's actually very audible. I'm actually shocked no one's realized it until now, from what I've heard. I haven't checked all the comments, I think, but I don't think anyone's noticed it. So, I don't know. I think it's kind of eerie. A hint that maybe he's not as dead as we think. And here we have my appearance. I made a cameo in this movie. I didn't want to have a full big role because I wanted to give that to, other actual people involved with the project. I'm so generous that way. But I wanted to have a bit of piece of the action, I think I'll do the same thing in the fourth closet. I'll take one role for myself and leave it at that. But for the Twisted Ones, that was everyone's favorite character, Gas Station Guy. And that's me. And I'm ever so proud of it.
Can I use your phone?
Phones for customers only. That being said, I can't listen to myself, and I'm going to move on. Now, having music involved with any sort of production is good. It adds to the I guess, sort of tone of everything going on. It helps to fill any silence that there might be, which I have a problem with. If there's too much silence, I have to fill it with something. It really bothers me for some reason. Unfortunately, when I have music, one other thing that also bothers me is I have to make sure every cut, every line, everything is timed to the music somehow. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, not timed to it like a music video or something, but like big moments happen when there's big moments in the music. A real punch, or something like this, which I'll show you here.
We need your help to find Charlie.
Right here.
We need.
Where you can hear him locking the door as the sort of, I guess, strings of whatever kind that is. I don't know, music. As that continues downward, the camera pans downward as he locks each of the door locks. I'm explaining it very poorly, but that is something I always find myself needing to do for some reason, because I cannot just have music playing and also have things going on in the foreground. It needs to match up for me, and I end up bending over backwards often to make that happen. This isn't as bad of an example. I think this turned out pretty well, but it's one of those habits I have. This is where my nightmare began once again, with the introduction of this little guy, Balloon Boy. We all know him very well. The issue is in the Twisted Ones. There's hundreds of them, and they all start chanting their hello, hello, hello for minutes on end. If you're reading it as a book, that's not too annoying, because you can't actually hear it. When you're making it like a movie like this, all of a sudden, it becomes very irritating. I was actually very concerned when making this that it would become too much, that there'd be so many hellos and it would just not stop, and people would get sick of it and upset in the comments and everything. I was very worried about that, because it's irritating to me. I was listening to it over and over again to get the scene right and stuff. But to people watching, I figured it'd be even more annoying because they didn't choose to have it there. They were just watching, and then they hear that, and it goes on for way too long. I think it was fine. I don't think anyone complained. I think it was okay, but it was... And then it was also a lot of sound effects I had to layer on top of each other. I had to make sure it was something. It was quite a bit. It was quite a lot. We'll just put it that way. And here we have the introduction of Springtrap, who every time I sort of imagined him moving, I put a lot of fleshy robot sounds from FNAF AR. I actually used his sound effects from FNAF AR and every so often I'd insert one of it so it sounds like he's wiggling around and you can hear the flesh sort of churning. Kind of disgusting, but I think it was cool. Here we have the animatronics melting and screeching, which I cannot manage to convince myself doesn't sound like PewDiePie screeching like he used to do. Sounds a little too similar. And the one example of fading in text that I used in this entire dub is through the big reveal that William Afton took Charlie, not her brother. It's the one time I had text fade in, because I figured it was too much of a pain otherwise for something that would only really matter in big reveals, in my mind. And I think I'm actually glad I was lazy in that way, and I only used it for this scene, because it makes it stand out more, I think, hopefully. Here we have a use of muffled sound, which I knew I wanted to do in this scene. It's simple, it's whatever, but I knew that once Charlie focused in on that door and it became all she could think about, I wanted everything else to just be drowned out by it. I wanted laser focus on that door, and so all the rest of the sound just gets muffled and out of mind. You can hear John talking, you can't hear what he's saying. It's actually a line from earlier in the chapter. I just thought it would be a cool effect to sort of show how she's thinking at the moment as well.
What was that?
Also, it just sounds cool. Yeah, here's John. This is John's line from earlier in the chapter where he says, "It's because you have these images in your head, but we know them for what they really are. They're monsters." We can't hear it. It doesn't make any sense in this scene, but I just took that and I muffled it. And to hint that this new fake Charlie is actually, spoilers for the fourth closet, skip ahead if you don't want to know, if you somehow don't know, to hint that fake Charlie is Circus Baby. I have a song from Sister Location play, Gradual Liquidation. Plays on the main menu of Sister Location, and sort of hints at who this new character really is. And then we have the credits, and would you believe this is the part of the movie that took the most out of my computer, that it could not handle the most. It's true, I don't know why. I guess it's because of the sheer amount of text. And the color changes. And then these two columns actually being two different items of text, and it all having to scroll at the same speed and line up. And then here, where half of it fades out and half of it doesn't. And I guess that was just too much for this to handle, even though I'd done way bigger projects in the past, like my low budget videos, if you haven't seen those. Way more in depth. I don't know why this is what it couldn't handle. But yeah, that's the dub. I have some more stuff to talk about. Maybe more interesting stuff. Let's see what we've got here. Let's talk about the soundtrack for a bit, shall we? Because that's the big thing that sort of changed between the Silver Eyes and the Twisted Ones. We now have an original soundtrack, and I actually have it right here. I'm working on a video that compiles the full soundtrack. It'll be done once we have one more track ready for it. It's an extended version of one that already exists, one that you guys are going to vote on, which you probably already will have by the time you are able to see this video. So this will be out in a few days then. But I'm working on it right now. Just songs, and then I made a sort of, I guess you could say, album cover looking thing. I don't know, sort of. It's in the same aspect ratio anyway. But let's talk a little bit about the soundtrack, because there's more involved with it than you maybe would think. We've got a bunch of different tracks, and they're all named appropriately for what they were intended to be used for. We've got School Bell for school. Ebb and Flow As You Go is actually Artie's theme. We've got different themes for different characters that the Wild Guest did. This is Artie's theme, and I think it matches up pretty well. And Angel's Coffee Shop, not sure actually why that one's called what it is. Cold Hard Justice is Clay's theme. We've got a couple more. This one's actually my theme. It plays in the gas station when gas station guy's there. It plays on the radio, because that's the scene I'm in. you'll notice there's a very clever pun in that track title. We've got, and it's also the one that I'm going to now start using in my streams, so you'll probably hear it soon when we do that watch party I mentioned, / director's commentary, or whatever it is. You'll probably hear it there. We've got, what's another very interesting one here? This is probably my favorite soundtrack in the whole thing. Maybe not what you would think. It's not one of the more like upbeat, sort of action-heavy ones. It's this one. It happens during flashbacks, and it's just weirdly haunting. I don't know. I like it. I like it a lot. It's my favorite one, probably, actually. Maybe not a popular choice, but what have we got here? What's something I want to mention? A lot of Twisted ones. There's one track called Twisted Ones. There's one called Twisted Chase, Twisted Reprise. A lot of different ones from Netherlands Black. We've got two that are sort of Springtrap's theme. Maybe another one. There's one called Dead Men Tell Twisted Tales, which might be his theme. I actually forget. I use it in a different setting anyway. I use it for Henry's flashback scene, I think. I used it during a scene where they were talking about Henry, because I figured, well, he's a dead man, and he's got some twisted tales to tell. I think it fits. I think I'm going to use it for William as well. I don't know. It fits for both of them, you know. What else do we have here? Metal on Metal. We got a couple different versions of some of them. A beta version of Metal on Metal, which was never used in the actual, I guess you could say soundtrack. Yeah, soundtrack. Or, no, never using the actual dub. Only here, where in the full soundtrack video, will you be able to hear it. This one plays during Charlie's death. Don't cry, Charlie, it's always better. It's all better now. Not exactly true because she's dead, but close enough. This one I named Fractured Denouement. I don't even know how to pronounce that, but I thought it sounded cool. That's Not Charlie. I think you can guess where that plays. Oh Bleep is used for the blooper reel. That's right, we have a blooper reel. Check that out if you haven't already. It's also linked in the end screen where you found this video. Just some goofs, just some gaffs. Funny stuff. Another peek behind the scenes, I guess you could say. Just girl stuff, no more strings, stakes were made, Fazbear's final memory, Taco Taco, we got, some unused stuff at the end, some bonus stuff. All in all, super, psyched that we managed to get a full soundtrack for this one. Over a half hour in length. I think that's wild. Just completely insane to me. I don't know. I'm very glad we have it. Thank you to the Wild Guests for putting together such an incredible soundtrack, and I can't wait to see what we'll have for the Fourth Closet. I don't know. This project there's so much that's gone into it, more than you would maybe think. The individual chapter, even between the individual chapters in the movie, some things were changed. Soundtracks were added in the movie that weren't in the original chapters when they were uploaded. Some lines were changed. Not changed to different lines, but to different takes. Just little tweaks, you know? Even when a chapter's done, it's not really done until it's in the full movie. So, little things like that I think are just, you don't really notice, but little changes that we made. I don't want to talk about the Wild Guest this whole time, but also, with the Twisted Ones, I'm going to say this because I think it's fine to say. I don't know why. I've sort of not mentioned it before. Not like I'm treating it as a secret or anything, but I haven't mentioned it. All the cast members and everyone involved in this, we are all in the same Discord server where we share the videos early and we talk about stuff. And it was pretty inactive until the Wild Guest showed up. It was actually pretty quiet there until then. It was mostly I would post a video early. I would say, hey everyone, new video's up. Check it out. See how things turned out. Then the Wild Guest shows up. Now we're having Jackbox sessions, and the server's way more active, which is so cool. Wasn't before, so it's neat to see. And as we are looking for more voice actors for the Fourth Closet, I think it's gonna get even more active. It's gonna be super cool. It's gonna be neat. I think we're wrapping up here. I think I have 2 more things to show you, and then I'll talk about what my plans are for after the 4th closet. So, I want to show you my files. I know, we're getting a little frisky here. I want to show you my files. Here is everything that went into making the Twisted Ones. It's separated into a couple different folders. Here's the main stuff. This is where I store all the chapter files and stuff. You can see each video is here, including the full thing, the credits, some miscellaneous stuff, one thumbnail for some reason, some stuff I used in the opening, audio for the movie, because I made that separate, just stuff like that, random stuff, you know. Oh, and then one other thumbnail that just is here for some reason. All the pages are here. Every single one. I own the book, but I scraped them off a PDF of the book so I could use them for this project. Every line for every character is also here. Let's take a look at Charlie. 10 chapters. She's not in the last one for obvious reasons, chapter 11. But in each chapter you can see just over like 50 lines. Here we've got 90. It's a lot. You know. And obviously that's because she's the focal character. She's the protagonist. But even for the other characters, like, I don't know, even for Springtrap, he's got a fair few here. And he only shows up in in chapter 10. So, you know. I still have everyone's auditions here stored. Even ones I didn't end up casting, in case for the 4th closet I need some voice actors. And I'm looking at old auditions. I'm like, actually, this person would be perfect for this role. So I have all that. I have, you know, you can see here we've got some that I ended up casting. Subster. Also, Mice on YouTube is Artie. We've got a couple other people here who didn't get the roles. But I kept it here because I figured, well, when the closet comes around, might need that. And here's just where I store the audio files. I think I had like 1 in here, because there's another folder I store that in, so not terribly interesting. What else did I want to show? Oh, I know. I was going to mention this, yeah, the reaction, Vapor the Gamer reacted to the dub, that's super cool. I think I already mentioned that earlier. Wild Guess, here's the channel, here's the soundtrack, here's other stuff too, that I know a little less about. And here is the script for the Twisted Ones. Yes, we did not just go along with the book. We turned it into a full script as well to make it easier to deal with. And this was mostly written by Evan, who plays John. He also wrote, or transcribed, I guess, this whole script. Crazy amount of work went into this. I helped with a little bit. I did way more of the 4th closet script, but he poured blood, sweat, and tears into this, and it's super cool. I'm very grateful. It made things way easier, I think, for me and for the other voice actors, and hopefully for him as well. So, it's all here. And then I felt bad that I made him do it all on his own, basically, and so I did the 4th closet all on my own. And now that script is done as well, which I'll leave out of this until we talk about it when we finish that dub, and then I can show it off. But look at all this. This is the entire book. Fully scripted. So if for whatever reason you need a transcript of this book, let me know. I'll send this over to you. I'm not keeping it locked up or anything. It's, if you need to use it for something, well, let me know. Now, final thing to talk about. Why is that white? That's weird. Weird formatting thing. Okay. Final thing to talk about. What am I going to do after the 4th closet? Obviously, that's going to be months from now. These things take a while to make. But after we're the 4th closet, I want to transition to a different type of video. Not comic dubs. I'm going to be done with that after the 4th closet. At least for now. I want to transition back to other FNAF content, and that includes more deep dives, not into the FNAF series itself, but into the stuff that fans have created. There's some analog horror series I've found that seem pretty underground. They don't seem to be something too many people know about. I want to do deep dive into them. I want to talk about them. I want to dissect them. I want to make, like, hour-long videos, not just about dubs. I want to make hour-long videos analyzing that stuff. And maybe even transitioning into other stuff. Maybe not just FNAF related. Other horror games, other horror things. There's some movies I've seen that not enough people have seen that I want to talk about. And maybe real events, real documentaries and stuff. I want to still do spooky stuff. But I want to do other spooky stuff other than this series. So, we'll see if that leads to my channel sinking or swimming, but either way, it's what I want to do. And I'm working on something else super cool, which I've mentioned, I think, only in my Discord bio, about page, whatever it's called, about section, which is, I'm not going to say how far in the works it is, but it's in the works. It's going to be a 4-episode thing, and I'm very excited to see how it looks when it's done. It's my biggest project yet. It's not going to be my longest. This has definitely been my longest, but it's going to be my biggest, most involved. So it's going to involve a lot of live action segments, a lot of other stuff too. And I'm very excited for it to be done. I don't know when it's going to be done. It's kind of a side thing. But it could be a month from now if I all of a sudden get really stick to the grind for it. Or it could be years from now if I continue to kind of do it here and there on the side. But I know I have a set plan for it, very clearly laid out. I'm going to follow it, and it's going to be done eventually, hopefully. I'm very excited to see what you all think of it. It's going to be something very different. But also something that I think, knowing if you like this series, I think you'll like it as well. That is all I have to say for now. I think I've covered most of everything that there is to cover about the Twisted Ones. Anything else we'll go over in the watch party. And yeah, that's all I gotta say. Thank you for watching. See you soon.